Hello, beautiful people. Now, it's been a while since I've made a video, and this video is going to be specifically about the levels of truth, which I've spoken about previously, but also how I'm really feeling that a lot of us are becoming aware in the embodied way of everything really just being a story. Now, before when this came through to me, it kind of left me feeling in a void, right? And the void was nothing. And the way I have moved through it is now the void is completely full of meaning, right? It's like the opposite of what I was experiencing before, because you can't really have nothing without something, right? It's a dual aspect. Now, when we're talking about levels of truth, okay, the easiest way to explain it is like rungs on a ladder. Now, people who, before they can hear their thoughts, they believe they are their thoughts. And this is probably the first rung, right? So if you ever say to someone, what are you thinking? And they say nothing, this to me is they're on the first rung of the ladder. Whatever they're perceiving is them, seemingly. Now, to the point where they can't even hear it, they believe they are it. The second rung is when we start to become aware that our thoughts are external. Now we start to hear them. And this is often ADHD, different kinds of things that we've put labels on, right? Now, to me, this is kind of where we're evolving into, because the level of awareness is opening up to realize we are not the body, we are not the mind, we are not the voices that we hear, we are the being inside this constructed identity. Now, the next level could be when you experience what's known as a spiritual awakening. And as you progress on the spiritual path, when you have your awakening, your activation, you can then move into spiritual aspects in which different stories can provide insight to different things within your psyche. Now, some of examples of this are past lives, entities, astrology, things like human design, etc., right? So all of these things are wonderful tools for you to be able to create the phenomena you're needing to experience within this life in order to progress through what you're traveling through. Okay, so let's use an example. Somebody who has a fear of the water, right? Now, they may go to a practitioner, and a practitioner is going to see a lifetime in which they drowned, okay? Now, whether the practitioner sees it and takes them through it and clears this lifetime, this past life, or whether they hold space and the person perceives the past life and then seemingly clears it, this in itself is just phenomena, a story being created by the psyche in order to move through a challenge. When you get to this rung on the ladder, all of these things are true. The past lives are true, the entities are true, all of it's true, right? To have the experience required to move through what you're experiencing. Now, if you know Bashar, he calls them permission slips. Like astrology is a permission slip. A human design is a permission slip. So it is seemingly coming into your awareness because you are a creator, right? So you're creating the thing you need to come into your manifested reality in order to show you what you need to move through what you're going through. Now, have you ever thought, when you're really, really struggling and you've reached out to another friend, so perhaps they're spiritual as well, and they're going through the same thing, and then all of a sudden you don't feel so bad anymore? That's the permission slip, right? And nothing changed except your ability to accept exactly as you are. Now, when we move through this, we go to the next rung and we realize, we see that all of this is just a story. It's just phenomena being created within often in our mind's eye or our perception, our imagination, or even our physical lived experience in order to transition through what we're going through. Now, there is something to highlight here, and it is intention. Being somebody myself, every single moment of every single day, I am geared to expand my awareness. I learn from every single thing, and I'm talking seeing an eagle in the sky, license plate numbers, everything that happens, even the weather, everything that happens has a meaning to me. And I don't perceive that I'm creating the meaning, but I'm allowing it to unfold. But this meaning is my own. Why? Because it is manifested through my psyche in order to give me what I need to know to move through where I'm at. This is why there's so many different interpretations of so many different things. And the mind and the ego want to know, right? They want to know a solid thing is that. But it simply isn't. When you reach this next rung and you see that everything's a story, it can lead you a little bit into that void space where all of a sudden, because you see that all meaning is actually just created and it actually doesn't have its own meaning, it is the story that you give it, it can lead you in this void space, right? The next step, the next rung on the ladder after that void space is merging with the all. Typically, if you have come through the realization in that everything's a story and everything is ultimately meaningless unless you give it meaning, you come into the space in which you merge with the all. Now, this is often spoke about in text as the no self. You move from being a self, a constructed identity, and don't get me wrong, you're still walking around as your person, but you are more living in the no self awareness, right? So i.e., I'm Jodi when I need to go and pay the rent, when I need to go shopping for food, etc., right? But I'm living so much in the awareness that I'm actually channeling the no self like that. So what I mean by the no self is that there is no separation between you and anything, okay? So you would be experiencing this if when you're around people, you feel them in your body as if they were you. Now, I believe so many of us are able to do this. So many of us are not realizing this is what we're doing. So many children are doing this with their parents because we're actually born this way. We are born as a clear vessel that then inhabits energy and tries to react to it, right? When you have been on your spiritual path and you have worked through these rungs, and it doesn't even have to be spiritual, that's just the story that's run in my path, right? But when you have worked through this, you start to lose the separation between self and other, and then you become this clear vessel to be able to perceive and feel in real time inside your body what the other person is experiencing. And this is even to the mode and the level of telepathy. Now, if you've had a Kundalini awakening, you will eventually end up here, right? Because this is the process of it. But the reason why it's important to understand the rungs on the ladder is because when you reach the no self stage, you are going to be of assistance to others on different rungs. Now, when you are speaking to people, it's important to become the no self, to become the hollow bone, as it's called in shamanic traditions, or become the vessel of which what story and how, what language will this person have the biggest shift for me to assist them? Because ultimately, this is what it means to be of service. When you reach the no self, you are merged with everyone, right? Everything and everyone. When you go stand next to a tree, you can become the tree because there's no separation between you and the tree, right? Same thing with people. Now, this can be scary when we don't know what's happening or we don't know why it's happening. But this is it. This is how we all merge into oneness. Now, people will start getting brought into your life. If you're not in the healing space, this can just happen just every day to anyone. When you have this ability, people will get drawn to you. And then we need to get the mind out of the way, completely immerse yourself in the feeling and allow whatever story is needing to come through in order to assist the person depending on the rung that they're on. Now, these rungs are levels of truth. And why this is hard is because when the mind wants to know, these rungs often counteract each other with truths, right? So here, past lives are true. Here, there is a story that's created that's completely phenomenal, right? So we need to be able to tap in to where that person is in order to relay to them the story that they're needing to believe, because we're the ones healing ourselves through our beliefs, through our intention. Whatever story that they need to believe enough to clear something that's not even there in order to move through what they're experiencing. Now, let me know if you, A, have experienced this, B, have any questions, C, want to learn more about this, because when we're merging with the no self, right, when we're actually realizing that this is the ultimate goal, it can be daunting because we don't just gain all the meaning, we lose all the meaning, right? We start to go, oh no, nothing means anything because everything is a story. But on the other end of that is it is full of meaning, and there is everything within that meaning that is needed for whoever you're working with, right? Now, what I've been facing is that this feels dishonest to me. If I know that it's all a story, how can I just keep making up stories? Now, this is the power of metaphor. This is the power of story. This is the power of, people don't like it, but it's manipulation. But we're doing it in order to move through something. If it's coming from unconditional love, which is the only way I believe you're going to make it to that rung. Okay, if you're still with me, let me know what you think.